Hello everyone and welcome back to a best of 5 series of professional StarCraft 2. Today it's time for a Zerg versus Zerg, where in game number 1 we find ourselves on Blackburn. Spawning here in the bottom left hand corner of the map, playing with the red Zerg drones from Canada, we have Scarlett. Her opponent in the bottom right with the blue Zerg pieces from South Korea, we're looking at Rogue's main base. Alrighty, so Scarlett versus Rogue. This particular series, this best of 5, is the semi-finals from Dreamhack Winter. I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard that apparently it's rather explosive. I mean, it's a Zerg versus Zerg, so I wouldn't really be too surprised, but apparently this is going to be a very cheesy series. Okay, both players opening up with what seems to be a gold base first right here on Blackburn. So right from the get-go, I think we are in for some fireworks. Now, I do know who ends up winning this just because, you know, I follow StarCraft 2 very closely. And obviously, I ended up seeing at least who was in the grand finals of this particular tournament. So I know who ended up moving on from this series, but there's no denying that apparently we should be in for a treat. So let's find out together. Gold base first right here on Blackburn. I have never seen this before, actually. It's quite common for one of the pro players to take the gold first, but when both of them do so, that's when things get a little bit crazy. Anyways, Scarlett, of course, ended up going up against Rogue at some point in the GSL Code S. That was also a rather cheesy series that people talked about for weeks. But overall, Rogue is definitely considered to be the stronger player. So, Rogue, I mean, he's one of the 3 StarCraft 2 pro gamers who's coming up on $1 million as far as tournament earnings go. Wouldn't be surprised if 1 or 2 of them, so Sarah, Maru, and Rogue, are going to be able to pass that $1 million mark coming up in the next couple of months, especially with Katowice. I don't know exactly how big that prize pool is, but it's pretty big. A couple $100,000 at the very least, so I wouldn't be surprised at all if one of the 3, maybe 2 of the 3, or maybe all 3 of them, I don't know. If they're going to be able to surpass that $1 million mark, and for good reason, because Rogue is ridiculously good at the game. People don't really talk about Rogue nearly as much as, say, for example, well, Sarah and Maru, but Rogue really is one of the all-time greats, and yeah, I feel like it is going to be a bit of an uphill battle right here for Scarlett. But then again, Scarlett has been on fire recently. And I think that this is actually also a small advantage for her. She decided to transfer way more workers than Rogue. Rogue only rallying in new drones, it seems. A couple of... Oh, no, he's going to send a couple. All right, just saving up slightly more minerals here, probably to just make sure that all of the upgrades are acquired and that all of the units are building. Anyways, this is about to get really crazy. Scarlett is now overlooking this high ground as well. I don't think Rogue can see that Overlord. Maybe the OV of his was just in vision, so maybe he knows he's been spotted. At the same time, though, Rogue has also seen the hatchery, he's seen the drones, he's seen the creep. So both players now are fully aware of what's going on, and this is about to get really strange. So Rogue has decided to go now for his natural expo. He's also scouting the opponent's natural expo. These Zerglings, I mean, the bases are super disconnected. These Zerglings can just run in. There's no bailing nest yet for Rogue. Oh, no, there is one over at the... Well, I guess this is the... I was going to say the 3rd base, but that's not what it is. Over at the gold base. A couple of Zerglings are hiding in the natural, and this could actually backfire pretty hard. If these turn into bailings and just walk into the mineral line, it's going to be something that's quite difficult to spot. Scarlett, I don't think, had vision of that right over there either. But this is just about to get ridiculously aggressive. I mean, both players have to start pumping out units. A couple drones are still being snuck out, but I mean, if they both start droning here, I'd be so surprised. You can actually blow up banelings manually in this little choke, and because of splash damage, it will actually come across to the other side of the mineral line. I actually really like this positioning here from Rogue. Using the baneling nest and the queen right here to create a wall off, so units can't just stream in from that direction. Spine crawler here for Scarlett should be helpful as well. But we do see a lot of units now on that production tab, so I think it's time to figure out who's got the better Link Bane control. Alright. Yeah, these banelings in the back, they are very annoying. Queen over here creating a similar wall off, but now the banelings are going in from the other angle instead. Okay. 2 drones only, really not that good. Maybe this baneling over here can still get some work done. Maybe the Zerglings can clean it up. That's quite a few more workers right now. That being said, Scarlett also did drone a little bit harder than her opponent. So right now, the worker count is dead even. These Zerglings apparently not spotted because Scarlett is also busy dealing with more aggression over at her gold base. That means that 4 banelings are currently morphing in and just rallied straight towards the mineral line. The oldest trick in the book. We have seen this since Wings of Liberty. Queen right there gets picked off as well. Banelings in the meantime are done. How good are the splits from Scarlett? She's still microing over at the gold base. The splits are non-existent. 8 more drones end up going down. There is a Roach Warren. Rogue, however, already finished up his own. I was going to say there's a Roach Warren coming up for Scarlett inside of her main base, but Apparently, Rogue has decided to just put down his own a little bit faster. I don't really like this move for Rogue all too much. There are 3 queens inside of the main base. I've got a feeling that all of these blue Zerg units are going to be picked off. Okay, a little bit of aggression over here too, but that Spinecrawler is putting in some work. Few banelings trying to get some damage done over at the goal. Oh my god, okay. Rogue wanted it all. Yeah, Rogue wanted it all. He got a little bit greedy there. Decided to not detonate those banelings earlier. Instead though, I mean, the Spinecrawler right now is gone, and that is going to make this follow-up aggression a little bit more, well, a little bit more doable. Okay, nice detonation right there on 1 baneling as well. Basically, any more than like 2 Zerglings is a good trade for a baneling. Ideally, obviously, you want them all. Even more drones end up going down here. Very nice control here by Rogue considered, or everything considered, like, pretty much, oh my god. Okay, that was apparently another baneling connection over at the gold base, yeah. Definitely outplaying the opponent here in game number 1. 22 drones were killed here. Really, Rogue? Alright. Yeah, Rogue doing a phenomenal job right here in game number 1. Just seemingly more comfortable playing this style. Now, the unit count is still looking pretty good. The problem is, right, these roaches, they're pretty slow. And they can get across the map eventually, but I've got a feeling that by the time that Scarlett gets that bigger army of hers across the map, Rogue is just going to have more than enough units to defend. And actually, I think he's just ready to defend right here in the center of the map as well. Gotta be careful, though. You don't want to line up the Zerglings into a baneling on the high ground. That would be kind of sloppy. Income-wise right now, I mean, it's still 26 versus 22. So it's not necessarily the end of the world, but I do think that this is a very significant advantage right now for Rogue. Also because being the defender in ZVZ in general is much harder, so as long as you're the one in charge of the pacing of the game, things do get a little bit better. Banelings right now trading out for a couple of roaches. Really not ideal either, although the Zerglings right now can maybe stream in. Scarlett actually getting a wraparound right now on the roaches in blue. Is Scarlett actually turning this one upside down? At the same time, there is a little bit of aggression. Queen will go down. A couple of drones are going to be able to clear out the job or clear up the... No way! No way! No way! Did Scarlett actually just win this? Oh my god. I thought this game was super over. Both players desperately trying to make more units. Worker-wise, this is still an advantage right here for Rogue. That fight in the center of the map was not good for the South Korean player at all. Probably also thinking he had this one in the bag. Instead, it seems that it's gonna be Scarlett, who's now just simply getting that tempo lead. And she is gonna be able to shove Rogue out of this game. Wow, okay. Alrighty, and that brings us to 2,000 atmospheres. Not the result that I expected whatsoever. So I think that game in total took place over the course of like 6.5 minutes. And initially it was kind of even, but for about, I guess from like minute 2.5 to like minute 6, it was all Rogue. And then the last 30 seconds or so of the game was Scarlett. She probably also did not expect to win that game whatsoever. But in the end, that trade in the middle of the map, not very efficient. She could wrap around with the Zerglings and pick off all of those leftover units from Rogue. And nicely done right there with Scarlett. Taking the opportunity that presented itself, it was really the only way she could obtain a victory there. Obviously, she did make way more workers than her opponent there. So I think in the end, Rogue had like 5 more drones or so. Even though he killed like, I don't know, 25? Alright, so that was a sick game for a first match in a best-of-5 series. Rogue definitely doesn't want to get in his own head for that particular match all too much, because I do think he was actually outplaying the opponent quite hard. But, well, in the end, it doesn't matter, right? A win is a win. Doesn't really matter how you get there. Anyways, fun fact, by the way, this was announced like yesterday or the day before. Scarlett is apparently on the Forbes list for 30 under 30 for gaming. There you go. Don't really know exactly how significant it is. But I've seen it in people's like email signatures every once in a while, right? Where you're like, you know, you're flexing with your 30 under 30. Apparently Scarlett is on that list as well for, I think, 2021, or did I do it like a year in advance? Maybe it's 2022. For some reason, I'm thinking it's 2022. Anyways, pretty cool. Congratulations to Scarlett for that. Not exactly sure how you get on a list like that. Can I be on that list? Follow-up question. Just because that seems fun. So I can flex with it in my Twitter profile description. I don't know. That's what you do, right? I think that's the main purpose. Anyhow, 2,000 atmospheres. I'm not really expecting any super crazy build orders over here. Mostly because there's no gold, right? That's crazy. Anyways, one set of Zerglings coming up here for Rogue. Scarlett decides to play ever so slightly greedier. Adds on an additional drone instead, not making any Zerglings of her own. Link speed is going to be coming up right here for Rogue as well. Scarlett does have 100 gas at this point, and she also starts up hers. 2 drones are pulled out of gas right here for Scarlett. And I'm expecting... Ooh, okay. I'm expecting the same thing on the other side of the map. Rogue, however, leaving his drones in gas for a little bit longer. Normally the follow-up is you pull one off right now and make a baneling nest. I mean, normally we'd make a baneling nest. You could also go for an evolution chamber at like 80 gas. So there is a third hatchery coming up as well for Rogue. So this is a little bit awkward. Leaving the drones in gas almost seems like a mistake, but I find it hard to believe that Rogue would be making a mistake so basic like that. Okay, baneling nest is coming up here eventually. So I'm maybe just mining a little bit of additional gas, just scouting out here that the opponent is going to go for a third hatch as well, so you don't need to bane this as quickly. Anyhow, liking to start a little bit better for Scarlett. Obviously, it's very, very small difference, but there's no denying, though, that little bit of a difference. I mean, in the game of drones, you win or you die, right? There's no middle ground. So you gotta try and get that economical advantage. Generally speaking, the more workers, the better. So this is where you can see that worker lead really kicking in. It's that little wrench icon at the bottom of the screen. 32 versus 25. That being said, there are quite a few units available at this point for Rogue, and Rogue does have 178 gas. So 2 banelings are being morphed in somewhere on the other side of the map, I guess. Okay. And then there's a Roach Warren as a backup as well. So Rogue is going to go all out, actually. I think that there's not going to be any more than 27 workers here. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is just going to be an all-out assault right here from the South Korean player, using that gas from earlier to just pump out a ridiculous amount of units. I think what Scarlett is doing over here is correct. Don't try to defend the third. Just try and turtle up on 2 bases instead. 2000 Atmos does have a relatively tight choke right there in the Natural Expo. So it's going to be very doable. At the same time, Scarlett is also going for a counterattack. This is also going to scout out that there is continued unit production right here from the South Korean player. It's just Zerglings, though. Roach Warren is done, but no Roach is coming up just yet. Scarlett instead decides to go into the lair and then also the +1 melee. It's going to be very difficult to break through this, though, Rogue. Rogue, what are you going to do? Those queens, I mean, there's 3 queens available. There's enough transfusion energy as well. You can obviously morph in a lot of banelings and just try and bust through that. And I think that's exactly the plan of Rogue here. You can even bust through the structures if you really want to at this point. If Scarlett is paying attention, though, this should be very doable for her. The problem is she doesn't see the amount of banelings. That is way more banelings than you expect, and that's just because of that gas that was continuously gathered. I would love to see the Roach stand in the choke, so we just get some additional transfuses. Okay, Evo Chamber block here instead to follow up this wall off, but there is so much available right here for our South Korean player. He just busts through that Evo Chamber that was still building, and right now, the mineral line is in a lot of trouble. Good transfuses right there for Scarlett, but the banelings are going into the main base. Drones are already falling inside of the Natural Expo, and I think this may have just been ever so slightly too greedy right here for Scarlett. What a... like, it's a very strange build, okay, on a map like this. There are some maps that have much wider chokes than this. Maybe that's the reason why Scarlett thought she was safe, but Rogue definitely putting all of his eggs in one basket. Game number 3. We are on Curious Minds, and that's a curious build order indeed. This is the map with the shortest rush distance from natural to natural. Scarlett is gonna be going for what seems to be a spawning pool at 12 supply. So she's not starting up any drones. What kind of variant will she go for, though? So you can pull all of the workers. You can go for, you know, a hatchery as a follow-up. You can go for lings and banelings really quickly as well if you want to. We'll see exactly what variant Scarlett decides to play. I mean, you can obviously pull all of the drones and then build a couple spine crawlers on your opponent's creep as well. That is a pretty killer build. Anyways, I just want to go back to that previous game for just a little bit, right? So what you got to keep in mind is that these are important tournament games. They're best of 5 series at the semifinals of an event where a lot of money is on the line. Now, Rogue is probably the best tournament player in the world as far as like best of 7 series go. So he doesn't really lose a best of 7 series. I believe actually, as a matter of fact, this year was the very first time he had ever lost a best of 7 in a tournament. So what you gotta keep in mind is that build that Rogue played in the previous game is something that pretty much everyone in Gold League can execute about as well. With like the Baneling Zergling bust, right? It's pretty self-explanatory, pretty straightforward. The issue is, though, that on that previous map, on 2000 Atmos, that build is unexpected, and technically speaking, significantly worse than on some other maps, just because of the tight wall-off. Anyways, it's a very risky build order. If that wouldn't have worked out, this would have been a 2-0 advantage for Scarlett. Scarlett, though, didn't expect that build, probably especially because of the map, and it ended up working because of that fact. You see what I'm getting at? Like, there's a lot of mind games and a lot of clever plays going on as well in this series, where a technically pretty mediocre build shouldn't really work. It did end up working out quite well. Anyways, the follow-up right here for Scarlett is going to be a hatchery as well after the 12 pool. She doesn't have any gas just yet. Drones are going to be pooled. Roke's very good at defending this sort of shenanigans, so I don't think he's really going to lose a whole lot. You need to basically pool drones right here to make sure you buy as much time as possible. He's trying to just... okay, getting one drone is good. He's trying to just buy as much time here as he can. The blue Zerglings are going to be coming out pretty soon. Queen is building in that hatchery. If you can kill like 4 drones, though, this becomes much better. These drones are definitely not going to be able to make their way home anytime soon. I don't really like this. Oh my god, really? Is this still working out pretty much flawlessly right here for Rogue? Okay. And that's what I mean. This is the shortest rush distance in the current map pool. Rogue only lost 2 drones there. Whereas, like, the average, you know, player, even at the pro level, loses like 4, 5, 6. Easy peasy. One Zergling here. Snuck away from the rest. Trying to see if it can maybe scout out what the follow-up from Rogue is going to be. Scarlett's not going to be able to find that out in this particular game, but we can have a quick little peek, and it turns out there's just a bit of gas mining. I think Rogue is going to be eventually going into his transition, but for now, it's just going to be a lot of drones. Do we have Terran music playing while casting a ZVZ? Alright. Very good. There's a Zergling hologram over here. Does this hologram actually change? Oh, it does. Synthetic DNA restoration? I wonder if this hologram changes depending on, like, who's playing over here. Is there a hologram on this side of the map, too? Yeah, it's the same one. It would be actually kind of cool if there's, like, a Zealot or a Marine. I have actually never paid attention to that. Oh. That was something. No, I think it's just cycling between a couple different ones. I don't know if it's possible to make those dynamic, depending on who's taking this extra, but that'd be kind of sweet. Anyways, +1 melee coming up for Rogue. Okay. So +1 melee is usually a big indication for either an all-in or for a Mutalisk transition. What you gotta keep in mind is that this is +1 melee. Okay, the same thing is happening on the other side of the map. This is +1 melee before both players start up Zergling speed. Another build you probably don't want to do on the ladder, because this can horribly backfire if the opponent decides to play aggressively. Slow Zerglings are moving out right now. I think Scarlett has realized, wait a second, if you were going for link speed, it would have finished, so you probably also didn't go link speed first. These players are reading very clearly what the opponent is going for with very minimal amounts of info. But slow Zerglings chasing slow Zerglings at this point in the game is not common. So +1 melee and Zergling speed, actually, they take about as long to complete, so they will finish up right around the same time. Second Evo coming up for both of them as well. Are we going to be going into a lair here at all? It's just going to be a macro hedge from Scarlett. Okay. So, again, this is, once again, Scarlett playing a mind game here. Normally, if you go for 2 base, with this sort of wall off, it's a 2 base Muta opener, or like a 2 base Nidus, or something along those lines. Scarlett, however, is going for a full Zergling all-in. In order to go for a proper Zergling all-in, you need that 3rd hatchery to generate larva, but rather than planting it down at the 3rd base location, she decides to go for a macro hatchery inside of her main base. She's even gonna go for the +1 carapace upgrade right there, also obviously benefiting those Zerglings, and now I guess another hatchery will be coming up as well, but this is an awful lot of lings already. Is there a Bailing Nest available at this point for Rogue? There is. Link speed for him is not done just yet, though, so this could backfire horribly. I think these Zerglings, though, just barely snuck away in time. A couple of lings here are morphing into Banelings. 3rd hatchery, though, will be picked off. At the same time, a huge Bailing clump is coming up for Rogue on the left side of the map. Scarlett probably content just killing that 3rd base, but I don't actually know if that's going to be enough. If she decides to transition right now to droning, that could backfire horribly. Okay, I think she's realized that this is going to be an all-out assault right now for Rogue as well. He's finished up his own +1 melee. There's a lot of Banelings. Yeah, those Banelings are going to be so dangerous here. With +1 armor, which is not done just yet, Scarlett's lings would be able to survive 1 hit, but now they can't. I think she may very well have to, like, cancel this building, or I don't know. Okay, now the 3rd base is going to be in a lot of trouble. Whew. Roaches, though, +1 missile against unupgraded Zerglings are going to be able to 2-shot those Zerglings rather than 3-shot them. So I wouldn't be surprised if Rogue once again decides to go for an all-out assault. Yes, I think we're going to go for maybe another Baneling Boost. Rogue just finished up the lair. Either that or he cancelled it. No, he cancelled the lair. Alright, I saw a lair on the production tab, pretty sure, but decides to cancel it. I think he's just going for an all-out assault. Scarlett, though, does see the tail end right here with a couple of these units. Rogue probably hoping right now that Scarlett is going to destroy one of her own Evo chambers and then go down that ramp once again. Can you really bust through this, Rogue? I don't think so. Especially once the +1 missile finishes up, although I hope for Rogue's sake that he decides to target fire that one down. Could also go for the Baneling, or yeah, for the Roach Warren itself. Okay, he decides to go for everything. At this point, though, that is so many Roaches. And there's really no way, even for +1 melee Zerglings, to finish that up. I mean, +1 carapace is done right here for these Roaches as well, so the Zerglings don't really deal that much damage. And when +1 missile finishes up, Scarlett should be able to just go for an attack move across the map and win. Alright. That being said, Rogue may very well decide not to take on a head-on battle. Instead, what he could do is just go for an all-out run-by. There are a couple of Banelings left at home, though, which I love right here from Scarlett. Very clever move. There's quite a few of them as well. I mean, you can micro against it, but it's gonna be difficult! Hello, hello! Ooh, it's gonna be very difficult to pull that off properly. At the same time, though, the lair is once again about, well, it's almost finished. There's a lot of Evo chambers coming up, a lot of spine crawlers as well. The Broodling's actually blocking some of this, too. Okay, Baneling's forced to be in the back. +1 missile is done for these Roaches. It looked like Scarlett is just going to be able to break through her opponent's natural expo. She's almost 50 supply up right here. I don't think there's going to be enough. There's basically no way that Rogue can clean all of this up. Unless he would have a Spire coming up at this point and 8 Mutas were just about to spawn. That being said, apparently Rogue somehow, some way, still magically made his way into the opponent's natural. But it's not enough. GG. Berlingrad. Game number 4 in this best of 5 series. Match point right here for Scarlett. Can she keep her head cool? Oh my god, Rogue. Rogue is such a madman. Rogue decides to go for a 12 pool with his tournament life on the line. On a map that has a pretty long rush distance as well. Like, if you're gonna go for a 12 pool, do it on, you know, Curious Minds is a pretty good 12 pool map, for example, right? I mean, I guess Scarlett was the one already doing it. Anyways, Rogue definitely laughs in the face of danger. So, I just had a quick look at his premier tournaments. So, that's the highest tier of tournaments in StarCraft 2. They're basically categorized under premier, major, and then minor. When it comes to premier events, he won IM Shanghai in 2017, GSL Super Tournament in 2017 as well, WCS Global Finals for $280,000 in 2017, IM World Championships for $150,000 a couple months later in 2018, GSL Season 1 2019, IM Katowice 2020, once again for $150,000. In 2020, of course, and then he also won the GSL Season 2 that year. He won the GSL Season 1 this year, so in 2021, and then also just a few days ago, the GSL Super Tournament number 3 over Maru in the Grand Finals. Okay, so those are premier tournament victories for Rogue. However, he's only got a second place once. Isn't that kind of wild? Anyways. Rogue, very good tournament player. Ooh, he apparently also sent a drone out right here to mine out that one little mineral patch. I guess that shortens the rush distance ever so slightly. Scarlett probably also at this point like, oh my god, this is insane. Going for a 12 pool. Like, the 12 pool gets countered by basically any pool first build. Like, if Scarlett would have gone for like a 16 pool, this would have been very playable. She's hiding a drone over here. Okay, she probably wants to make a spine crawler or something along those lines. Maybe she wanted to just check for a little bit. Okay, drones are going to be coming up. Zerglings are going to be coming up as well. Let's see if Scarlett is going to be able to defend as well as Rogue did. This is where obviously the nerves very much so come into play as well. Because she knows she probably isn't really expected to win against someone of the caliber of Rogue. But 1 drone so far. 2 drones? No. Ooh, okay. The drones are running very low on health. Very good so far actually here by Scarlett. That's the second worker going down. Okay, 3 drones in total. But obviously now this game is once again a bit chaotic, right? I guess that's one of the strengths of Rogue. He's very good at, like, throwing the opponents off. It's very easy to get nervous in these big games. When there's, like, you know, large amounts of money on the line. It's very easy to get the shakes, get the nerves. And Rogue's like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna make this game a little bit harder for you. I don't really care about this. My bank account is looking pretty healthy as it is anyway. Like, that's actually the fun fact, too, about a lot of these pro gamers. There's quite a few of them that make good money. Obviously, StarCraft 2, not the biggest esport out there. I mean, the Dota 2 prize pool in general is insane. There's more Zerglings coming up, by the way. Rogue going just even more hardcore. She's going for another all-in. It's all-in into all-in. Could Scarlett actually start up a war or something along those lines? Because I think she might have to. Yeah, instead she decides to defend the natural here. But what I'm trying to get at is that most of the pro gamers aren't really big spenders either. Like, they're very, you know, straightforward people, happy to play the game. Rogue casually made, you know, more than $1 million, of course, with tournament earnings and prize money and you know, team salary and all that combined. Probably doesn't live a very lavish life. Anyways, I think this build is actually working out. Rogue, going for an all-in into an all-in. Well, your tournament life is on the line. Only 12 drones, by the way. Still no drones were added on here for Rogue. At this point, there's only 8 workers that remain here for Scarlett. She really wanted to keep that natural expansion alive, and maybe she will, but... Yeah, these queens are very good, though. The problem is, without Zergling speed, it's very difficult for these red units to, yeah, stay alive. Okay, I don't mind going into the main base at all. Any drone at this point you kill is huge. That's 2. Maybe even 3 of them going down. Yeah, that's game. There's no way. You can't really come back with just 5 workers. Okay, eventually it looks like, oh my god, even this queen might go down. Maybe not, okay. Anyways, the spine crawler makes its way towards the low ground, but Scarlett at this point, yeah, she realizes it. We have to go to the final game. Alrighty. Glittering Ashes. The final map in this best of 5 series. Both players making drones. No drones being cancelled. Going for a 12 pool on Glittering Ashes would be a little ambitious, though. Because the rush distance on this one is ridiculously long. It would be a little bit too insane. Alrighty. This map, it features so many bases. Generally speaking, they do come into play in the more macro-focused games, but I've got a feeling that neither of these 2 players really wants to play a long one. How long have I been casting for? Maybe half an hour or so? Probably not even. And we're already in game number 5 at a best of 5 series. Pretty sure some of you clicked on this video expecting like a 3-0 swoop, or a sweep rather, when you first saw the video duration. Probably didn't expect we'd be going into game number 5, and that it actually is, yeah, very exciting. Alright. Let's see. This is where those follow-up drones are gonna be going into the mineral line, 1 into the gas, and then 1 into the spawning pool. We will probably see the same on the other side of the map. Scarlett going for the more conventional position right there on that spawning pool. Rogue apparently happy to go for the spawning pool a little bit closer to the ramp. Supposedly, this is better against, like, 12 pools. So, say the opponent wants to go for, like, a 12-pool rush to the other side of the map and then plant a couple spine crawlers down. Since your spawning pool is right over here, you gotta block the most ideal position for those spine crawlers, but I'm a little bit conflicted on it. Apparently, Rogue likes it, though. Scarlett deciding to go for the spawning pool over here, leaving enough space for Brenda, the queen, to go and hold position in that spot. And then, you know, Banelings wouldn't be able to waddle by. It's small little differences like that that can change the tide of battle. Going for a spawning pool over here, for example, in ZVZ does nothing. Going for it over here also does nothing. Whereas in the other matchups, those might be a little bit nicer. Anyhow. I've never been in this scenario before, right? I've never really been much of a tournament player, but I have played many online cups and many smaller online tournaments, and I do know of the nerfs. What's funny about the nerfs when you get into these kinds of games is that you have a tendency, and maybe I'm the only one, but you have a tendency to just throw everything you've been practicing out of the window. So say you're playing a tournament game and you've been playing macro on the ladder all this time, and you know your ladder game is very strong, you're very good at just playing straight up, In tournaments, you might find yourself accidentally cheesing your opponent, even though that isn't really something you really ever, wanted to go for. You might just see an opportunity and play way more aggressively than you normally would. It's very easy to mix it up, and I can only imagine that if you're in a final game of a best-of-5 series, in the semifinals or a grand finals of a tournament, that you'll feel like, you just want to close it out a little bit sooner than you normally would be content with. Anyhow, very important that you obviously try and not get too caught up there. Alright, so far build order is looking near identical, although Rogue is starting up the Zergling production a little bit sooner, and there is also a quick Roach Warren coming up. Scarlett has been happy playing the macro game so far in this series, it seems, but she's not really been allowed to. I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to be seeing a Evo chamber very soon here. Alright, this Overlord here from Scarlett, though, does see Zerglings moving out across the map. Rogue actually already saving up resources and already making extra Overlords. So Rogue, believe it or not, is still gonna go for an aggressive push here. He's planning on making a lot of roaches and sending them to the other side of the map. Overlord position from Scarlett is very good. She has 2 Overlords over here, scouting both of the ramps. So, unless the roaches take a very creative path towards the other side of the map, this should always be spotted. She is currently adding on more drones here. Rogue's just gotta go for another all-in. Oh, almost a disaster there. Rogue really does laugh in the face of danger, right? Look at this. Saving up units and now sending them out. Scarlett sees this. She sees the amount of roaches she's gonna have to deal with very soon. I think spine crawlers and maybe giving up the third is the only option. She actually starts a couple more drones. That's a huge error. She starts up a couple of drones. Maybe she didn't notice what was going on that minimap. That is not what you can do. She even goes for a roach warren right now. I think she must have just not seen them on the minimap. Finally, Zerglings are coming up right here as well for the Canadian Zerg player. Does she have enough? I've got a feeling that 8 roaches, together with that Baneling support, might just be a little bit too much. Okay, Scarlett trying to see if she can get ultimate splash damage on these units, but there's no way she's gonna be able to clean this up. Zerglings are desperately popping out of their cocoons, but there it is. Rogue is the winner of this best of 5 series. Thinking about it a little bit more, I do think that Rogue is overall, when it comes to playing a best of 5 or a best of 7 series, probably the scariest player of them all. Maru and Serral are definitely a little more predictable. And Rogue just seems so dangerous. Not afraid to play, well, a strategy game.